Welcome everyone to A Call for Judgment. Today I want to talk about this story that came out. You all remember probably, if not, I'll refresh your memory. The person that calls themselves Yuval Noah Harari. Remember some of the wonderful things that he said? Well, I'll show you in a second. But Yuval has come out, and he's somebody obviously promoted by the World Economic Forum. He's buddies with supposed truthers Russell Brand. He's buddies with the Gateses of the world, the Obamas of the world. Of course he is. Why is he? Well, because he's one of them. And he's out there talking about the world being on the verge of a new religion that's going to be started by artificial intelligence. Does that sound to you potentially like the one world religion? Because remember, there would be one world religion under the worship of the Antichrist and a lot of worshiping, of the Antichrist. And a lot of people over the years have talked about the Antichrist actually being artificial intelligence. I do not argue with that statement whatsoever. Obviously, I don't know, and I don't want to sit here. We can all take guesses on who the Antichrist is, but when it's revealed, we'll all know. Those of us who have the Holy Spirit and have discernment, we'll all know. And some people are like, well, it's already been revealed. Well, maybe it has. Maybe it has. I haven't seen it yet, but I mean, there's signs that point towards a lot of different people. Now, some of these people we look at, like the Elon Musk of the world, might already be transhuman, right? I mean, how do we know? How do we know? Yes or no? But let's look back at some of the stuff that Yuval Noah Harari has said over the years. Absolutely frightening stuff, but of course, this guy's allowed to say it and allowed to mock Christianity, of course, because that's all that they seem to do these days.
You have a small elite that pushes things in its own interests, even if it doesn't benefit the vast majority of the population. This has happened so many times previously in history, and it's probably going to happen again. One of the biggest dangers to the planet today is this technological utopia, because probably for the elite it will work. If bad comes to worst, and when the flood comes, the scientists will build a Noah's Ark for the elite, leaving the rest to drown, the rest of the people and then the rest of the ecosystem. But they are likely to be able to construct this technological Noah's Ark, which is probably what much of the elite is counting on. COVID is critical because this is what convinces people to accept, to legitimize total biometric surveillance. If we want to stop this epidemic, we need not just to monitor people, we need to monitor what's happening under their skin. What we have seen so far, it's corporations and governments collecting data about where we go, who we meet, what movies we watch. The next phase is the surveillance going under our skin. We're now seeing mass surveillance systems established even in democratic countries, which previously rejected them. And we also see a change in the nature of surveillance. Previously, surveillance was mainly above the skin. Now it's going under the skin. Governments want to know not just where we go or who we meet. Above all, they want to know what is happening under our skin. What's our body temperature? What's our blood pressure? What is our medical condition? Now humans are developing even bigger powers than ever before. We are really acquiring divine powers of creation and destruction. We are really upgrading humans into gods. We are acquiring, for instance, the power to re-engineer life. I know that in recent years, we saw populist politicians undermining deliberately the trust that people have in important institutions like universities, like respectable media outlets. These populist politicians told people that, say, scientists are this small elite, disconnected from the real people. I mean, all this story about Jesus rising from the dead and being the Son of God, this is fake news. Humans are now hackable animals. You know, the whole idea that humans have, they have this soul or spirit and they have free will and nobody knows what's happening inside me. So whatever I choose, whether in the election or whether in the supermarket, this is my free will.
So that's Yuval, who should be in prison for some of the things that he said. But let's look at this story here about the world being on the verge of a new religion that started by artificial intelligence writing its own sacred texts. So the world is on the verge of a new religion created by artificial intelligence, the historian Yuval Noah Harari has claimed. And why is he a historian? The academic, known for his best-selling book Sapiens, said software such as ChatGPT could attract worshipers by writing its own sacred texts. Speaking at a science conference, he said AI had crossed a new frontier by gaining mastery of our language and was now capable of using it to shape human culture. And they are already doing this in a sense. Now, they're not shaping it yet with a supposed religion, but you look at all the things that they're doing through technology, how they're brainwashing people, and it all obviously has to do with the do without wilt mindset, right? The perverse, the insanity that they're promoting, and they're sharing it all over social media, and they're telling you, be you, be yourself, and they're convincing people that there's something that they're not. And that continues to grow and fester and fester and fester into what ends up being a one-world religion, a narcissistic religion that is really a religion that worships the Antichrist. So Dr. Harari used the event to add his voice to growing calls for urgent regulation over the sector, which experts have warned is amid a dangerous arms race. And let me just point out on that, we have, the one guy from Apple, Steve Wozniak, the guy who, made the first Apple computer, cost $666.66, and just said it was because he liked the number, right? Wink, wink. Apple, they make it the forbidden fruit. That's the whole representation of Apple.
So Steve Jobs went in to sell him some of our little boards that we built for $20. He said, no. People want to come in. They want to buy it pre-built. They want to buy the thing ready to go. It cost us $250 to build, maybe. We'd sell it for $500. And then the retail price was $666.66 because I, as a mathematician, like repeating digits. And that was what it should be.
But anyway, we have him, we have Elon Musk, we have Bill Gates. All these guys have come out and talked about the dangers. These people who don't care about our best interest. These people who have obviously allowed this stuff to happen and continue to allow it and enhance technology, which we know is part of the fallen angels system here. This type of artificial intelligence, we see transhumanism, all this stuff. This type of technology is not just dangerous to humanity. They want it to be shoved down your throat so much that technology is an advancement in humanity that people just continue to ask for more and more tech. And if you've noticed, obviously I've covered over the years, how they've put more and more tech in our homes. More people have just put it in willingly, imprisoning themselves in their homes. And this is going to end up, of course, with people putting technology inside their body. And obviously, as we all know, a lot of people already have. But you see a lot of these big tech people now coming out and warning about it. The artificial intelligence godfather, they call him, from Google, recently came out, and he spoke about how AI was going to kill us.
Joining us now to discuss, Jeffrey Hinton. Jeffrey, thanks so much for joining us. So you left your job with Google in part because you say you want to focus solely on your concerns about AI. You've spoken out saying that AI could manipulate or possibly figure out a way to kill humans. How could it kill humans?
Well, eventually, if it gets to be much smarter than us, it'll be very good at manipulation because it will have learned that from us. And there are very few examples of a more intelligent thing being controlled by a less intelligent thing. And it knows how to program, so it'll figure out ways of getting around restrictions we put on it. It'll figure out ways of manipulating people to do what it wants.
So what do we do? Do we just need to pull the plug on it right now? Do we need to put in far more restrictions and backstops on this? How do we solve this problem?
It's not clear to me that we can solve this problem. I believe we should put a big effort into thinking about ways to solve the problem. I don't have a solution at present. I just want people to be aware that this is a really serious problem and we need to be thinking about it very hard. I don't think we can stop the progress. I didn't sign the petition saying we should stop working on AI because if people in America stopped, people in China wouldn't. It's very hard to verify whether people are doing it.
Steve Wozniak, one of the co-founders of Apple, is also speaking out about the dangers he fears will come from AI. Take a listen.
Now, AI is another more powerful tool, and it's going to be used by those people, for basically really evil purposes. And I hate to see technology being used that way. It shouldn't be, and probably some types of regulation are needed.
It sounds like you agree.
I agree with that. Yeah.
Yeah. What should that regulation look like?
I'm not an expert on how to do regulation. I'm just a scientist who suddenly realized that these things are getting smarter than us. And I want to sort of blow the whistle and say we should worry seriously about how we stop these things getting control over us. And it's going to be very hard. And I don't have the solutions. I wish I did.
So these are, they're talking about an artificial intelligence having the capability to kill us, artificial intelligence having the capability to start its own religion, which would be the one world religion, I would assume, right? Are people ever, could the Amish look more, above and beyond smarter than everybody else? I mean, I'm sure a lot of us when we were younger looked at the Amish like, what's their deal? What's going on with them? Yeah? Well, I'm not saying that everything they do is 100% correct, but staying off the grid and staying away from tech obviously couldn't have been a smarter move. And unfortunately for the rest of us, we still depend on technology. And we could all sit there and be like, oh, I don't really depend on it. Well, you're listening to me on the internet. So I'm on here, so I'm not going to be a hypocrite and pretend like I don't depend on technology. Maybe not as much as other people, because, I'm not on a cell phone and doing that kind of stuff, but I still use technology, and all of us do, because you're here listening, right? So the Amish obviously had it better, or at least had it figured out before we did. He goes on to say, in the future, we might see the first cults and religions in history whose revered texts were written by a non-human intelligence. That is, I have no doubt about that. Of course, religions throughout history claim that their holy books were written by unknown human intelligence. This was never true before. This could become true very, very quickly with far-reaching consequences. So why don't we stop it then if all these people who are behind, responsible for funding all this stuff, quantum computers, etc., why don't they stop it? Oh, right, because they don't want to. So this is almost like a version of sigil magic where they're warning you about what it's going to do and everybody just continues to go about their day instead of saying, we need to shut this down now. We need to grab pitchforks. We need to create giant EMPs so that we can wipe out their tech. Oh, no. Everyone just continues like, oh, that's interesting. Until the things at your front door, right? We already see them rolling out these, just like they showed in, I believe it was Black Mirror, rolling out these robotic dogs and things like that all around the world, police dogs, et cetera, robo-cops, literally. Nobody seems concerned yet. Unbelievable. They say, speaking at the Frontiers Forum event in Switzerland, he warned machines now had the tools to cocoon us in a matrix-like world of illusions. Already in it. Already in a matrix-like world of illusions, because everything we're seeing on the television, all things that we're being told is really happening, is all, formulated. It's all manipulated. It's all created and staged. So we're living in an illusion. They go on to say, referring to the 1999 sci-fi film, The Matrix, the Hollywood blockbuster depicts a dystopian future in which humanity is unknowingly trapped inside a simulated reality that intelligent machines have created to distract humans while using their bodies as an energy source, right? And of course, that has to do, we know what they're talking about, using us as an energy source, what they're going to put in our body, the nanobot tech and the graphene. He said, contrary to what some conspiracy theories assume, oh, you mean conspiracy facts? You don't really need to implant chips in people's brains in order to control them or to manipulate them. Oh, interesting. Thanks for confessing it. Then why do we all get strike? And I'm not saying that you need to have a chip implanted either. I believe that it's, it could be, obviously, it doesn't have to be a chip implanted. It could be through a syringe to have it implanted in you because it's so small that you could do it that way. But if people like us who are talking about it it's a conspiracy theory, why are we all being silenced? And why have we been dealing with so many hoops to jump through? So he says, for thousands of years, prophets and poets and politicians have used language and storytelling in order to manipulate and to control people and to reshape society. Now AI is likely to be able to do it. And once it can, it doesn't need to send killer robots to shoot us. It can get humans to pull the trigger. Great. Calling for tighter regulation, he said, we need to act quickly before AI gets out of our control. It's already out of our control because it's so much more advanced than they show you. What do you think? They're going to come out and tell us that they can do this type of stuff and mind control you and do this and that? Why would they admit to it? They're already doing it. Look at what the insanity we're living in, right? Look at the stuff they already tell us with your DNA and what they can do with it through putting a little something in your body. You think that they can't do more than that? Oh, they could do way more than that. That's just what they tell you. Remember, everything they tell you, they're 20 more years at least, 50 more years advanced than what they tell you they're capable of doing. Okay? And they're never going to fully admit to what they're capable of doing because then literally people would band together and go against these people for crimes against humanity. But this, in general, is a crime against humanity, what they're doing with artificial intelligence, is it not? The guy goes on to say, similarly, governments must immediately ban the release into the public domain of any revolutionary AI tools before they are made safe. Oh, that would sound like a good idea, but they don't even get into the other stuff about AI, about, about the dangers of it, as far as just even the most basic things, right? Like, why would we want technology that's able to take away jobs from humans, right? Well, I get it that the majority of liberal people don't want to work and want everything handed to them. So you could look at that, and they're like, oh, that's great, because they don't have to worry about money because they get, paid for by our government. They fund them, right? But shouldn't the majority of people in general just be against the fact that robots are taking over human jobs? And they're bragging about the fact that sooner or later there's not even going to be delivery people or trucks, et cetera, that things are going to be delivered by drones. I mean, and sooner or later robots are going to have more rights than humans. So if you think you're going to shoot a drone, which I plan on doing, by the way, if you think you're going to shoot one down, well, you're going to end up in jail for first-degree murder. Oh, yeah, it's going to get that insane. I mean, you think that I'm making it up, that it's not going to get that insane? We're talking about if men can have babies or not, okay? Can't get more insane than that. So here we have Yuval talking about artificial intelligence creating a new religion. This sounds great, right? This is just what we need. And the world's on the verge of a new religion started by AI writing. Oh, sounds a lot like the one world religion. Sounds a lot like the Antichrist. I thank everyone for being here. Hope you're doing well. God bless you and your families.